All right, and thank you for joining me again. This is the fourth video in our series of deploying microservices application. And like I promised you that we are going to try this deployment locally on a Windows machine. So I'm going to try this code as if I don't know anything about it. We are going to clone the code and we are going to deploy it locally, and we are going to test out how to use Scaffold, that's the continuous delivery and development tool that we talked about in the previous video. If you haven't watched our third video, please make sure you do watch that. I also introduced this series in the first video, and in the second video, we talked about what microservices are and the infrastructure of our microservices. Or without taking too much of our time, so to start, we'll be first to go clone the code from GitHub. I'll go to Google here, go to GitHub com/cloudcore. Yeah, that's the code we are looking for. And search. But even if you don't get this, I will share the link in the description. Once you're on here, all you want to do is copy this and you're done. Then you come back here and open your terminal. If you're using Visual Studio Code, you can just drag here to open your terminal, or you can go on here to look for your terminal to open up that. So once you have this pop up, you can do git clone. Meanwhile, you can do this in any folder. So I have this folder created in my documents and I call it test. So I'm going to do git clone and I'll paste the link and I'll clone it. The code is in here, everything is on here. I'm going to share the link in the description. So make sure you clone the code, and that's the first step. Second step will be make sure that our Docker desktop is running, because we're deploying this in a local environment using Docker desktop. Make sure your Docker is running and make sure your Kubernetes is running. If it's not running, you can go to your settings, go on to settings, and you go to Kubernetes and you enable it. If you want to check if everything is good, you can do kubectl get node. And you see that you have just one node that is running and it's called your Docker desktop. Good, our Docker desktop is running. Next will be to install Scaffold. And I showed us this in the third video. You can go to Google and search for Scaffold Dev on Windows, but we can also do that here and go to Google, and here we'll search for Scaffold. Oh, let's say Scaffold. And this is the official document, scaffold.dev. Once you're on here, you can look for instruction on how to install this in your local system. You go to Get CLI and you select your operating system. Right now we are on Windows, so we go to Windows. I use Choco to install everything on my Windows, so this is what we are going to use. You can now go to your PowerShell or your CMD. Whichever one you're using, make sure you run it as administrator. Say yes. Once we're on here, we do Choco install Scaffold -y means to accept, everything. Okay, I think everything looks good. Yeah, everything looks good. Second thing we have to do will be to install Ingress and Nginx. I have the link put in the README. To install it, the link is in the readme.md file. But I can show you where to get this because it gets updated, regularly. You type Ingress and Nginx, and you will go to the GitHub page. Yeah, I guess it's this one. Go to the GitHub page. From the GitHub page, you can, go to the official website. You scroll down here, you go to get getting started. On this page, you can see all the processes you can use. It's pretty much the same for most system, but if it's just read the instruction and take whatever works. But since this is a local system, we are going to just copy this. This is what we need. We copy this and we come back here, paste it on here, enter. Is going to, install a lot of things in our Ingress Nginx controller. Just so I don't forget, I can cd into the folder that has our scaffold YAML. One thing we need to also do is to, deploy our secrets, or to, create our secrets. So these secrets are the JWT secret and the Stripe secret. In the last video I showed you, or in the first video, how to set up your Stripe. If you haven't set up Stripe before and you're going to use that Stripe token, the hidden token, I'll also show you how to, access that and run your command. Okay, let's go right here. To access Stripe, you go dashboard.stripe.com. Once you're on here, you log in. Okay, once you sign in, just on your page, if you haven't used this or if you've signed up already, you will see where it's showing you for developers. It will show your publishable key. This is the one we added to our code, and this is the secret key that you will use as your Stripe secret. So you need to review this and copy it. Once you have it copied, we are going to create our JWT secret using kubectl. You paste this. Remember, this is the command. I've shown us this in the first video. You create and the secret is created. And for the Stripe secret, I'll paste this, use the command, copy whatever your Stripe secret is and paste that and enter. This is good. I will open another terminal here because I want to use this to run my scaffold. I will cd into the folder here. Okay, next we'll check our Ingress service file, which is in this folder. Come in here and note what your DNS is. Like I mentioned in the first video, you need to update your host file with this DNS. You can name it whatever you want. You can copy this. You are only pointing your local host to this DNS. It will only work locally for you. I know if you search for this DNS, it might belong to someone or not, but because you're trying this in local system, it will point your local host to this DNS. You copy this and you're going to paste this in your host file. So to access your host file, you have to open Notepad, and you have to open Notepad as admin. You open run as administrator. Accept this. Okay, you have this open. You have to go open your system file, and to do that, you go to open, and it will bring you here, but I want to take you from where to go find this. You go to your PC, go to your C drive, no, Windows, then go to your systems 32, then you go to your drivers. On here, you go to your etc, and you might not see anything here, but you have to change this to show all the files. Then you see your host file. You open this. Now it's open. Ignore every other thing you see here, but all you need to add here is that DNS that we copied, and make sure you're pointing the IP of your local host to this DNS. That's all you need to do. You just need to add this to your host file. So remember, the DNS has to be the same thing that is in your Ingress service YAML file. Once you're done with this, you save it, and you can close the file, or you can close Notepad. Okay, at this point, we're going to start deploying our application. So there is a scaffold build, which is just to build your images and build your application using the Docker file. There is also the scaffold run, which is going to build and deploy. But once if it deploys, that's the end of the the state. But with scaffold dev, it runs and is still active and it waits for any changes in your application and it deploys that. So, but let's start with the scaffold run, which is going to build and it's going to deploy. And remember, it's going to take a couple of minutes for this to run because it's going to go through all your Docker file, it's going to build, it's going to push, and the Kubernetes is going to pull these images and it's going to deploy it. And if you've run this couple of times, there are just some things that is already cached. It will, recognize that they are there locally and it will, deploy it. kubectl get part. Okay, something is terminating. Okay, it's terminating, but another one is already created. Okay. Okay, I think it's all ready now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have all the 12 ports running. We're not seeing any error. Let's try to access our application from the browser using this DNS. Remember, we changed that in our host file. So we'll go here to Google. All right, our application is live. And remember, we tested this on a machine that we've not run this code on before, and everything looks good. You can, sign up, sign in. You can start playing with the code, and I think that's it for using or running this code on the Windows. And I'll see you again in our fifth video on this series. Thank you, and see you again next time. Bye.